Why is getting out of your comfort zone so important? Well, relying on 15 years of corporate experience leading through major disruptions, as well as leading a multi-million-dollar consulting company focused on enabling the growth of the Fortune 500 through great change and disruption, I'm here to sell you on just that. Let's get it. So at this point, I think it's only fair that I share with you something that not many people know. I used to sell used cars. Yes, that's correct. I used to be a used car salesperson. It sounds so, when I say it, it sounds like I'm sleazy, but I'm not. I am not a sleazy person, but I am sharing this because I'm about to sell you on why it's so important to get outside of your comfort zone. You're gonna hear 3 of my strongest, non-sleazy, completely honest, and data-based selling points. And hopefully by the end, you'll at least be open to stepping outside of your comfort zone. Okay, my first selling point. Beyond comfort is where growth lives. The best way that I can exemplify this is thinking about the gym and weightlifting. So I'm a former collegiate athlete. I threw shot put discus at Georgia Tech in Atlanta, Georgia. And during that time, there was a lot of weight training. And I can always remember when you're starting on a weight training program, especially coming out of the summer, and you're getting back into the reps, right? And you're doing all the cycles. Those first few days and those first couple weeks, the muscles are in so much pain. I can remember after the first couple days, not hardly being able to move, trying to get up in the morning, so much pain. But the reason that that pain was there is because the muscle fibers had been stretched, had been torn, and they rebuilding themselves in order to grow stronger. That discomfort, that pain, was required for the muscle to grow. And I think the same is true as we think about our own personal growth, as we think about growing in our careers and growing as an individual in this world. It's so important to embrace that feeling of discomfort, that feeling of not knowing what you're doing, that feeling that we often, feel when we're learning something new, when we're doing something that we're not necessarily skilled at. That discomfort means that you're growing, just like the sore pain in my muscles when I could hardly get up out of bed in college. And so embrace that. If you're feeling the discomfort, it means you're growing. My second selling point, the invitation to get outside of your comfort zone, those invitations are not gonna quit. In fact, I think they're going to be coming at us in a more and more rapid fashion. As our world continues to evolve at seemingly a more and more rapid pace, innovation, technology, climate change, the way our world, our environment is changing, that invitation for you to learn something new, to get out of your zone of comfort and into that growth zone, you'll continue to get invited to do just that. Case in point, the pandemic, COVID-19. We were all forced outside of our comfort zone. And I feel like we'll continue to get those invitations of having to get outside the comfort zone, whether we want to or not. So the more that you can become more attuned to being in that zone of discomfort and that growth zone, perhaps just inviting yourself into it when it hits, when it's demanded of you, perhaps in your work environment or in your personal life, you'll have built that muscle memory and you'll be ready and poised to move forward, even though things might be uncomfortable. And before I get to point number 3, selling point number 3, I want you to hit me below with some comments. Talk about when you've stepped outside of your comfort zone. What happened as a result? Help me sell this to anyone else who might be watching. All right, let's get on to selling point 3. My third and final selling point is there's an increased risk for you to stay in your zone of comfort. The longer that you stay in a place that's comfortable to you, the world around you is going to continue to evolve, will continue to change, and eventually it's going to leave you behind. And so it's so important that you're taking those invitations to get outside of your comfort zone, because the risk in staying, the risk of you trying to get out into the world after you've been there for I don't know how long, it's going to be more and more difficult for you to acclimate, for you to become adaptive to all the changes that have happened around you. And I think that's true as we think about ourselves, just moving through the world and how it's changing, as well as the way that you relate to your business, in your teams, in your workforce. If you're not staying open to growing and just staying in that comfort zone, the risk of you being there, the risk of you being able to achieve in your work, to be relevant in your work, is going to get greater and greater. You know, this reminds me of my wife, and when the pandemic hit, they took it very, very seriously and were quite frightened, as we all were. But they took it to a level where they didn't leave their home for weeks and weeks. I think it was actually a couple months, and they still remained in their home, having groceries delivered, and only went out to walk the dog and to take exercise, physical walks. And as they were doing that, of course, the world was changing. And so one of their closest friends approached or called and said, "You got to get out. You have to actually continue. You have to engage in the world. Of course, protect yourself, but you have to engage because the world is changing." By that point, you know, the stores had plexiglass up. Everyone was wearing masks. There was that social distancing that was happening, the stickers and everything. There were rules that were becoming written, both very apparently and just understood in the culture and in the world as the pandemic and as we were dealing with that, as that was moving forward. And so their friend said, if you don't get out into the world now, you're not going to be able to adjust. You won't be able to acclimate, and you'll be in shock when you do get out into the world. And so that was their motivation. If I stay here in this zone of comfort, if I stay here, then the world is going to leave me behind. So that was their motivation to get outside of the house. And thankfully, it was their motivation to get onto a dating app and find me. So if you dug that, thinking about getting out of your zone of discomfort and all those emotions that might come with it, frustration, anger, anxiety, I've got something else for you. I actually want to gift you a free chapter of my best-selling book, Change Enthusiasm: How to Harness the Power of Emotion for Leadership and Success. I want to offer you the introductory chapter to this book, sharing this growth mindset that I've created and am now teaching with leaders all over the world about how to harness the power of that emotion that's inspired when you're outside of your comfort zone, inviting you into an opportunity to grow. I want to gift that to you for free. All you got to do is click on the link below. I want to make sure you have the research, the data, and the insights to successfully fuel your growth through even your greatest change challenges. I'm Cassandra Worthy, and until we meet again, keep growing and keep rocking.